Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Healthcare Marketing Masterclass. I'm Charlie, the CEO at Exposure Ninja, and I'm joined by my fantastic colleagues, Danielle, who is a Senior Account Manager that worked on the very campaign that we are going to be sharing, and Rebecca, who is our Head of PPC, managing the Google Ads and the Meta Ads that also took place on this campaign. This is a never-before shown live campaign. So this is the first time we're actually talking about it live, which is super exciting. And it's an incredible one. We went from just 60 to 300 monthly leads for this client in the healthcare sector. If you're working in healthcare, care homes, bathroom installations, anything lead gen related, this sort of strategy and campaign is going to be really relevant to you. So I'm going to introduce us. I'm going to then hand over to my colleagues who actually know the ins and outs. You're going to actually hear from the people who worked on this campaign to go through everything that we did, what the strategy actually looks like. And then at the end, we're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat ahead of time, and we'll try and make sure that we get to them. So without any further ado from me, let's get into it. So the first 9 months of this campaign, we generated over 3,000 qualified leads across all our marketing channels, 3,832 leads. That's huge. We went from 60 to 300 per month, absolutely smashing our target out of the water, and increased conversions from Google Ads by 363%. Google Ads was a major player in this campaign, which is why Rebecca's joining us today as well. So our agenda, what are we actually talking about then? We're first going to go through a big deconstruction of this multi-channel marketing strategy. We're going to actually take you through the very things we did on the campaign. Then we're going to explain how we scaled the campaign up from 60 to 300 leads every month. And then we're actually going to leave you with some actionable takeaways that you can implement on your own marketing campaigns as well. And if you have questions about how they apply to you, again, just drop them in the chat. Shortly, a poll is going to appear on your screen as well, asking what kind of area you currently work in. That will give us a bit of a feel to make sure that we're making this webinar as interesting and relevant to you as well. So you can see it now, which of these best describes your role. Just pop in the vote if you work in a healthcare business, if you're a marketing leader, or if you're one of the actual on-the-ground marketers implementing work as well. Or just here to learn, which is also great. Love it when people come just to learn. Okay, really mixed bag today. That's great. Some people actually managing marketing campaigns, others implementing, and a few just interested in what actually happened behind the scenes. So our strategy for this campaign, this was a 4-part strategy. There was a lot of issues up front with the website, the positioning, the conversion rate optimization. Our first port of call was sorting that out because we hate throwing money at a website that we know isn't going to convert. It's an absolute waste. We don't want to burn our clients' money. So making sure that the website does a great job, actually converts the traffic it gets into leads is always upfront. This particular campaign came to us with a lot of cannibalization, duplicate pages, targeting the same keywords, duplicate copy. This was big on our agenda to sort out first before we started creating new stuff. Then we looked at developing lead magnets and landing pages, and I'm talking about brochures, I'm talking about guides, and I'm also talking about PPC specific landing pages as well. And then full funnel marketing campaigns, we scaled across SEO, content, Google Ads, Meta Ads, and email. This was a super integrated campaign. It was actually shortlisted last year for the UK Search Awards for Best Integrated Campaign because it had so many moving parts going on as well. So how we approach website positioning at Exposure Ninja. We looked at customer and competitor analysis upfront, understanding who we wanted to market to, because in this market, there's a couple of different personas. So this was a bathroom installer looking at installing bathrooms for elderly and disabled people, but they are not the only target markets because often the decision maker might be their child, their carer, someone else in the family who's supporting them as well. Then we looked at actually optimizing the conversion rate. How many people come into that website are then becoming leads, who are then becoming actual clients. And we wanted to maximize that for our client as much as possible. A big part of that was looking at the key messaging and positioning, making sure that the website built trust and really appealed to those people. We were very, very fortunate to have a fantastic, lovely client behind this business who really genuinely cared about the people that they worked with. And this is one of those sectors, as I'm sure many of the people watching know, that has some very aggressive competitors as well, some very dominant players in the sector. So for us, this was a lovely thing. We were connecting actually a client who really wanted to do the best they absolutely could with customers who really needed the service that they offered. And then branding and visuals, making sure that when people came to the website, they felt comfortable, they felt confident that they wanted to buy from this business. They felt like this is the person that's going to deliver the bathroom that I need, the product that I need, was really important. So let's actually see it in action. I'm going to hand over to Danielle, who is the senior account manager that managed this very campaign, to talk about what we actually did.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. I just want to start by saying, first of all, that we were really lucky with this campaign, or I was really lucky with this campaign. I absolutely loved working with this client, and we were really lucky that they trusted us. They took our advice on board, and they were so easy to work with. And just a shout out to the team, really, because obviously I'm the account manager. I make sure everybody's doing what we should be doing and everybody's working together. But the team themselves did absolutely fantastic work on this campaign. And the client was quite lucky that we had the same team pretty much throughout the whole time on the campaign. So a huge shout out to Rebecca, obviously, who's on the call, who managed the Google Ads and Meta Ads, and the client absolutely loved Rebecca. To Flora, who did exceptional work on email. And even though we had some hesitation from the client originally about email, he later loved it because it was delivering lots of leads. And then we had Claudia on SEO, who's been doing all the technical SEO since the very beginning, and George, who works on the sort of content and offsite SEO, so digital PR, link building, those types of things. So let's start at the very beginning. Seems like a long time ago, but we will go through what we did, and I will get started. So when we first started working with aged care bathrooms, the website had a few issues that were holding it back from converting visitors into leads. Like Charlie mentioned, there were duplicate service pages which confused users and hurt SEO. On top of that, CTAs were either really weak, completely missing, or very random. I think there was about 10 different CTAs on one page. So we wanted to clean all that up. Basically, it meant that interested users weren't always guided to take action. It wasn't clear what those CTAs were and what was going to happen next. Navigation was clunky, with a structure that didn't reflect how customers actually search for solutions, especially older users who value simplicity and reassurance, of course, especially at this stage of their life. There were also quite a few mobile issues, which obviously, again, is a huge deal when you consider how many carers or family members are browsing on phones. One thing we found from our research actually is on this campaign, a lot of users were actually using a tablet, which is not always common on other campaigns. I mean, my 83-year-old nan uses a tablet. So that was something we also had to take into consideration. And finally, on this original homepage, there were no real trust signals above the fold. So despite, as you said, Charlie, being a genuinely caring and experienced company, none of that came across in those first few seconds on the site, which obviously, as we all know, is critical for credibility. So before we jumped into implementation, we actually kicked things off with a Crow audit, as you mentioned, and a big shout out to Hannah T in Dev, because a lot of the changes you will see here came directly from her recommendations. The client loved that initial Crow audit, and a lot of those recommendations are from Hannah, so thank you. So one of the first updates was tightening up the site's navigation. We made it much clearer and easier to use, which instantly improved the experience, especially again for older users. We then merged and restructured the service pages. That helped simplify the site structure, avoid confusion for Google, and give each core product like walk-in baths or wet rooms a stronger chance to rank well in search, which we will see the results later on. The CTAs were made clearer and more prominent. Instead of vague links or passive language, we now had buttons like download our brochure or request a callback, clearly positioned and repeated throughout the journey. We also added visible trust signals, things like review scores, professional badges, and affiliations with respected organisations. These helped build credibility quickly, especially for users landing on the site for the first time. And finally, we rewrote and clarified the copy to better match the customer mindset, using language that feels reassuring and supportive and clearly focused on the benefits to them.
I absolutely love how clean this homepage looks as well, but particularly the nav menu that we worked on, Danielle. I feel like it's one of the most underrated things in a campaign is how confusing it is for users when they go to a website and the menu's got a bajillion different things on it, especially when your demographic is a slightly older one, when you're working with people above the age of 50, 60, really commonly. Having a confusing nav menu is such a big issue. And this is just so clean, so simple. One of the best changes we made, I think.
Yeah, and I agree there, Charlie. And I think the problem is when clients look at their own website and they understand the business and the products, it looks fine. But when we look at it and we think, well, what's the difference between a wet room and a mobility bathroom? So even though the client understands and the business owner understands what it is, first-time users usually don't and are going to be confused. So yeah, it looks great. So yes, alongside the structural changes, we also focused heavily on building trust, as I mentioned, and reducing fear, both really common blockers for this audience. We recommended using more personal imagery to humanize the brand, things like showing real members of the team and helping users feel more confident that they were dealing with genuine, caring people, which they absolutely were. And that suggestion led to updates like the welcome video you see there and team photos, which added warmth and credibility to key pages. We also made sure to explain exactly what happens next after submitting a form, breaking it down step by step to reduce any uncertainty. That kind of reassurance is really important for the users who might already feel anxious about taking the first step. And finally, we added sticky CTAs and mobile-friendly FAQs. So users could easily find answers and take action, especially when browsing on a phone. So yeah, here's a quick side-by-side to show the transformation visually. On the left, we've got the original homepage. While the messaging was well-meaning, it lacked clarity and a clear visual structure and didn't make it easy for users to take action or feel confident in the business right away. On the right, you can see our updated version, much cleaner layout, modern design and messaging that immediately tells you who they are, what they offer and why you can trust them. We've got strong trust signals right at the top, clear CTAs and a much more calming and professional look overall. This redesign wasn't just about making it look nicer. It was about reducing friction, building confidence, and guiding people to take that first step. Okay, so we're going to look at organic. Oh, go on, you go in on that, Charles?
Yeah, so another poll should have just appeared on your screen now, asking you when you last updated or did some redesign tweaks to your website. I'm seeing that 55% are saying this year, which is amazing news. A website is something that needs continual love, continual care, continual iteration to make sure that you're actually tweaking it to what your customers and users need. And the best way to do that is to use things like heat maps, so you can see how users are behaving on the site, to do something like a CRO audit, every now and then to see how your changes have impacted. And you can also use data in your Google Analytics and Search Console to help you see which pages are converting really well, which ones perhaps not so much, and where you want to make those changes. So amazing to see that 62% have done something this year. If you're in camp 20% last year, time to start thinking about it now. Okay, and Danielle, handing back over to you for organic content and SEO.
Yeah, fab. Thanks, Charlie. So yeah, one of the bigger technical challenges we tackled early on, as you mentioned, was content cannibalization. When the client came to us, they had multiple service pages targeting the exact same intent. So things like mobility bathroom, disabled bathroom, and walk-in bathroom. So while the labels were different, the content was almost identical. That was causing confusion for search engines and splitting ranking potential. So we merged those pages into a single focus page for each core service. Then we built out structured content clusters, one strong service page supported by relevant blog content. That gave us a clear content structure and helped improve internal linking and authority flow. We also interlinked content pillars like blogs and FAQs more strategically, which meant users and Google, of course, had a much clearer path through the site. And on the UX side, we introduced a sticky nav and product filters so visitors could easily find what they needed within each category, especially on mobile. This was a behind the scenes fix, but it made a massive difference in how the site performed organically.
This is one of those things as well where this project was really quite extensive, if I remember it correctly, Danielle. So like this is just one example here of 3 pages that were all duplicate and doing the same thing, but there was many of them. And that was also an issue we had with location pages as well. I think we had multiple London pages going on. I think it's a really common thing that a lot of websites accidentally fall into the trap of, oh, I want to serve this audience and I do this thing, but what if they describe it this way? And then you're thinking there's all these different words to describe the same thing. So actually having a really good comprehensive keyword research, that's just a snapshot of it on the screen now, helps to understand what users actually search, make a much cleaner plan for what it needs to look like. And sometimes that means merging things together. Sometimes for different websites, it actually means creating a little bit more. But this one was a huge cannibalization cleanup that the team had to go through. And that don't let me distract you from getting to the results because it's actually really cool.
Yes, and here's the impact of all our work. So we saw a 46% increase in organic leads, which was a huge win for the client, especially because these were high quality leads. You can see the steady climb in organic visibility here. Over time, we increased keyword rankings, grew traffic, and improved the overall value of that traffic through consistent strategic SEO and content work. And what's important is that this growth wasn't from just one quick fix. It came from properly addressing technical SEO, the site structure, content quality, and user experience in a joined up way.
Absolutely love a green upward arrow trajectory like that.
Yeah, me too. And one of our goals with the SEO strategy, as everybody's been talking about it for the last 6 to 12 months, was to improve not just traditional rankings, but also visibility in obviously emerging AI search tools. So by cleaning up cannibalization, tightening our content structure, and including clear, relevant information, aged care now appears in some top results in AI tools like ChatGPT. And here you can see them featured as the #1 recommended installer for wet rooms in the Southeast, which is peculiar because they're not in the Southeast. They do serve nationwide, but I expected them to come up in their area. But yeah, they're recommended in the Southeast, which is great as well. And there you can see they've got a key selling point and a direct link to their site as well. So this kind of visibility is exactly what we're aiming for, making sure aged care is discoverable. Users are searching for solutions, not just on Google, so they come up, wherever people are searching. So yes, a big part of this campaign's success came down to the content strategy. And just to give credit where it's due, again, shout out to Claudia and George, who've done an amazing job driving the SEO and content work behind the scenes. They've been responsible for crafting and refining all the copy you see across the site. So we started by auditing all existing blog and service content, identifying what was working, what needed improvement, and what was missing completely. Next, we looked at competitor content and dug into real customer search behaviour, especially what people were Googling when trying to support an older relative or plan ahead, of course, for their own care needs. From there, we mapped out content gaps using SEO tools alongside internal insights from sales and customer calls. That gave us more of a complete view of what people needed answers to, not just the keywords that had volume. Then we structured everything using a pillar and cluster approach, creating core service content supported by educational blog posts. That allowed us to target users at every stage of the funnel, from awareness all the way through to decision. And this strategy alone contributed to over 1,000% organic growth in just 18 months, a huge win in a market that's traditionally very competitive and trust-driven. So here's a breakdown of how the strategy evolved and the results we achieved. In the early stages, we focused on low competition, high relevance keywords that we knew we could win quickly. We also identified national search opportunities for key service terms and built content around them. The priority was always to answer real buyer questions, which we did, in email as well, making sure that we weren't just ranking for keywords, but actually helping people make informed decisions. Alongside that, we kept the site technically sound with regular SEO, health and performance checks. And the results speaks for itself. I think there's an animation coming up where it shows we grew from around 2,000 keywords in July 23 to nearly 8,000 by July 2025, with a significant increase in top 5 positions, which really helped drive that uplift in organic leads. And to help capture more leads across the funnel, we built out a range of lead magnets tailored to aged care's audience. We created in-depth guides like the Mobility Bathroom Buying Guide to support users still in the research phase. The brochure itself that you see there was already created by the client before they came on board with us, and it was a really strong asset. They offered this in digital form and as print. So rather than reinventing the wheel, we focused on making better use of it, integrating it more strategically across the site, and again with email and PPC. And then we also built a dedicated brochure landing page optimized to convert with a clear call to action and strong reassurance messaging. And together these helped nurture leads at different stages and played an important role in increasing conversion rates. And then to build trust and authority while also raising awareness, we launched a campaign focused on real-world accessibility issues with the over 50s. And again, just to highlight the team behind it, shout out to George, who did a lot of work here and led on the digital PR and content side of this. So what we did is we started with a YouGov survey that revealed just how many adults over 50 rather, either struggle with bathing themselves or live with someone who does. And that gave us a strong, credible hook. We then launched a change.org petition calling for changes to the means test for the Disabled Facilities Grant, a support scheme that many families rely on but often struggle to access. And then we tied it together with a press release, which picked up national media attention and helped open the door to wider conversations. So yes, what made this campaign so impactful was the way we combined SEO goals with a real world cause. It wasn't just about rankings, it positioned aged care as a brand that genuinely advocates for its audience.
One of the amazing things about this as well is Sam and his colleagues over at Aged Care genuinely care about this. And for us, being able to amplify the opinions that the people within that business already have, the things that they really care about in their digital marketing and in their content strategy, like we've done here, is so amazing for our team to actually be able to give a voice for that. And even better if you're thinking like, well, I hold these kinds of opinions as well. Like I also think this, because it's our most vulnerable population is probably our over 50s here. And actually having businesses that advocate for their needs and the things that are really important to them is super important. And having a marketing agency who can help you do that is just the next step to making sure that those voices and people get heard. So I really love this campaign, and I always really love sharing these little bits of work that we did for petitions, for YouGov surveys, for really uncovering some of this stuff. I think it's just one of the most lovely, wholesome types of PR campaigns that are out there. And I think sometimes people think of PR as like, oh, like, I don't know about doing PR. But this is a really great example of how the healthcare sector can have really effective PR that actually communicates the things a business cares about in a really nice way. Okay. Thank you so much, Danielle, for sharing all of that amazing work. There's more to come. I'm going to reintroduce Rebecca, who is our head of PPC and was the lead on the Google Ads and Meta side of this campaign. One of the most impactful channels of the campaign. You're going to get to hear from her directly.
Hello. Thank you for the intro, Charlie.
Pleasure.
So, yes, as Charlie said, I had the privilege of directly working on this campaign. I'm not going to lie, this is one of my favourite campaigns I've worked on, just purely the collaboration from the client. It just makes everything so easier when you've got a client that's willing to test things and share industry insights and business insights, which makes the PPC campaigns more effective and the whole journey a lot smoother and a lot nicer. So when we took over the Google Ads account, the client had been running the ads internally, and they were running them on a significantly higher budget than what we originally took over. So the budget the client was running on was around 10K. And when we took over the campaign, we had a budget of 4K. So that was quite significantly lower. We did see some inefficiencies across the campaign. So the first port of call was just to tackle that low hanging fruit, to rebuild and restructure what the client had already done. The structure was, for the majority, quite a traditional structure, but there was some elements where the client had been keen to test as well, and it just needed a bit of tweaking and a bit of exposure ninja management just to make it perform a lot more efficiently. So we rebuilt the original structure to give a fresh opportunity to focus on some high intent search terms, streamline those campaigns, and implement clear audience segmentation, which was something that had not been done to this point. So this helped us to direct quality and more personalized traffic to the website as well. So whenever we're looking at rebuilding and restructuring, the next part of call is obviously to look at your landing page and look at that landing page experience and make sure that it matches that ad experience as well. So we tailored bespoke landing pages, again, aligned with the user intent, that personalization of that journey that the users are going through in their personal life. We wanted that to reflect across the ads and across the landing pages. So we developed the landing pages to be aligned with that intent. And we showcased those lovely lead magnets that the content team had created, and highlighted those brochure requests for those specific searches as well. So these landing pages actually delivered a 2.29% average conversion rate as well, which is great. So that's like the bones of the structure, and then we get to experiment and test and get into the more creative part of the campaign. So once we started to deliver a number of leads for the campaign, and once that had stabilized and we'd established a good ROI and a consistent ROI, then that's when we decided to look at testing and scaling the campaign. And as we've all previously said, this client was such a pleasure to work with. They were always wanting to push the boundaries, and anything we suggested, they had so much trust in us and so much faith in us based on the SEO work AI work that we'd done. We decided that once we got that opportunity, once those new features had been released on Google Ads, to test some AI campaigns as well. So the client was very keen for us to start testing those. So at this point in time, we'd got PMax campaigns, but we had some AI functionality on the search campaigns as well. This is still there. So when you go into your ad account, you'll still be able to see this feature, and you can still use this feature, play around and test this feature. So when you are structuring your search campaign, you'll get to the keyword section and you'll see Google's AI little chat box pop up, and it will say, would you like us to suggest some keywords and write ad copy for you? And normally you'd be like, no, I'm not keen on that. But this is something we wanted to test. And we know from all the work that we've done on SEO that if we have really strong landing pages and a really strong website that had been written by a human, we've done all this keyword research, we know that we can get a good output from AI. So this is very key for this AI campaign. If your landing pages aren't optimized, if your website's not optimized, the AI function is just going to churn out generic keywords, generic ad copy. So it's not going to work very well at all. However, we had designed these PPC landing pages and they were very specific to the keywords that we were targeting. So it automatically pulled those keywords when it's reading the landing page, because that's how it works. It reads the data from the landing page. So we've got really good, strong keywords. And then on the ad copy side of things, because it had been written, the landing pages had been written by our content team, although for a PPC purpose, the ad copy that it was churning out was really high quality ad copy as well. I wouldn't have thought you'd be able to tell that it was AI written whatsoever. So this campaign delivered 610 leads, which expanded our target audience beyond the traditional keyword match targeting, aside from PMax, of course. And this allowed us to test and to understand what other search terms people were searching to land on Aged Care Bathrooms website as well. And this is a really good way of testing outside your core campaigns. Because you don't want to test too much in your core campaigns. If they're doing well, you don't want to disrupt that. So we took a very small budget and tested. This allowed us to find keywords that we'd not necessarily thought of, that had not showed up in our keyword research. And it allowed us then to add these search terms to our core campaigns to strengthen those as well. So it was a really good strategy for understanding our audience a lot better and scaling our campaign further as well. And then because this brand, this client is in the healthcare sector, a lot of you will know if there's any health related personalization in your ads, then Google suppresses delivery. You can't upload an audience list. And so it's very, very difficult to retarget from Google Ads when you're working in this sector. So how we got around that, so as we say, we utilised our brilliant brochures and our lead magnets to harvest data for our email campaigns as well. So we were able to sync the PPC data because we'd got the HubSpot CRM. So it's very important to sync your CRM up to your Google Ads campaigns as well. So we were able to see who downloaded from PPC, who downloaded a brochure, who'd got in touch. And then we can track on the CRM side who'd not followed up with a booking. And where we would normally pull those back into Google Ads and retarget for other campaigns, the lovely Flora, who looks after our email, set up a lost PPC flow. So that allowed us to nurture and convert those people that had not converted at that moment in time from PPC. And it allowed us to remarket for free from another channel, which is email.
This is amazing. And honestly, it's one of the most difficult things to do. I think a lot of people have CRMs that are not giving useful data, and it makes such a massive impact on an integrated campaign. If you're running email, PPC, you've got all these things going on, to actually have all of that come together. There's some examples later on in the presentation that I know you'll get to, Rebecca, of those emails and what that setup actually looked like. But just for everyone listening, if you are one of those people who's thinking my CRM is a mess and I hate this, like, we understand, we feel you. We are a HubSpot partner agency. So if you need a hand, if you need an audit, if you are thinking about moving over to HubSpot, if you're thinking about how to better integrate your Google Ads, your PPC data, and your email marketing, we can absolutely give you a hand with that. Please just submit the contact form on the website, and one of our team will get back to you and help you through the process. Okay, back to the Google Ads.
Yeah, so just digging a little bit deeper into those strategies that we've just gone through. So when we rebuilt the Google Ads campaign, we started with the account restructure. So the ads, as I said, were on a lot of a higher budget, and we were given a lower budget, and the ads were currently paused at the time, which actually gave us an opportunity to tweak everything that we needed to tweak and give it a refresh, and not start from scratch as such, but add new campaigns. So like a fresh, clear focused strategy from the ground up. So as I said, we started with high intent keyword themes to make sure we're targeting users who are actively searching for aged care bathrooms and the services that they offer. We wanted to showcase aged care's unique selling points as well. And one of the main USPs that we wanted to highlight, which is significantly different from their competitors, is that they had an in-house installation team. Now, if you have a vulnerable adult that is needing a new bathroom, you don't want strangers, anybody visiting your house. So this was a really, really strong USP for this client. And something that we'd not seen on ads before. There was no mention of this USP. And also the company is family run. So that was a nice trust signal and unique selling point as well, that they're a family run business. All their staff are responsible for them, and there's no pushy sales approach. So this was what we wanted to get across in the copy. And then finally, it was testing different bidding strategies and being able to refine those bidding strategies based on like lead quality rather than just volume. So again, we mentioned that we had the HubSpot sync up. So this really allowed us to see the real effect of our PPC campaigns rather than just like a vanity metric. Like, this campaign generated 6,278 leads, but we could see that they were qualified leads ready to take action, and we could see the value that these campaigns had on the business and on sales. So those 6,278 leads through Google Ads, that was just in a 12-month period. So even though we were on a lower budget, we managed to generate more leads, more qualified leads, and more revenue from PPC ads.
Which is the dream, right? A lower ad spend and more qualified leads. And am I right, Rebecca, that when this client came to us, they wanted to reduce that budget down a bit because they were not confident that PPC was really delivering for them, and they wanted to just start from scratch before scaling again to see what was even possible to achieve? Because this is such an aggressive sector for PPC.
Yeah, absolutely. The competition was very high, and the competition we could see had a much larger budget as well. So we could see from the software that we have access to, we can see how much competitors are spending using your Google tools for the ad library, the ads transparency tools. We could see like they had a significant number of ads. So even with a larger budget, even with a smaller budget, it just shows if you get your fundamentals right, if you get your structure, your targeting and your messaging spot on, you don't need to compete money for money. Google will always reward a better user experience. So spend time on those low-hanging fruits, those fundamentals, getting those getting the basic rights before you start pumping money into it, which is what we did with this client.
Absolutely amazing. I think one of the other things people are probably going to be thinking is from that strategy slide, it was actually search campaigns that were struggling when we took this over, and PMax was the one that really performed. And I know that some people are hesitant about using PMax, so really exciting to see the kind of results that this actually generated. I'll let you share what actually happened there.
Yeah, so PMax does get a bit of a bad reputation, and I've always been a lover and an advocate of PMax. I could talk about PMax until the cows come home. But yes, so PMax, especially in lead gen companies, a lot of clients are very resistant to use PMax because it can be quite spammy. We don't have, or we didn't at the time have as much control over the targeting. You kind of set it up and let it run, and that's quite scary when you're putting physical money behind an ad and you're just seeing, those pound signs ticking up. And if you're not getting any results off the back of that, that's quite scary. So PMax does have a bad reputation, or can have a bad reputation, if you're not running it correctly. So my favorite saying with PMax is you need to feed the machine. So PMax works on machine learning. The more data you give PMax, the better the campaigns will perform. Now, the client was running some PMax campaign, a PMax campaign when we took over the account, and the lead quality was quite low. The search campaigns were struggling, so we decided that we would optimize the existing PMax campaign. We would build out the generic brochure campaign, and then we would implement a few more targeted PMax campaigns as well, so we could target both the intent and people searching for specific products and specific audiences as well, because aged care bathrooms, you would probably think elderly people searching for bathrooms, but there's also adult children that are looking for solutions for their parents, and the messaging for that audience is a completely different messaging to the people who are actually looking for themselves. So by setting the PMax campaigns up this way, it means that we could be highly targeted, speak to the pain points of each individual, and again, with that landing page experience, everything syncs up nicely. So the PMax campaign allowed us to reach users across Google's full inventory. So we were able to utilize videos from Sam, the owner of the company. We were able to create highly personalized text ads, and we were able to showcase those high quality visuals, before and after pictures, case study pictures, and really tap into those high intent traffic. So what helped us with the PMax campaign, as I've said, is syncing HubSpot to Google Ads, because we can't upload offline conversions because Google won't allow us to upload the list due to the health in advertising. So by syncing that CRM, we were able to send that signal via enhanced conversions back to Google Ads to tell them this is what our good customers list look like, and this is what we want you to go after. So once we'd structured and aligned, and again with PMAX, you have to give it time to optimize, we were able to deliver 4,718 conversions, qualified conversions at a CPA of £71.27 as well, which was well within the target range, and that made it sustainable for us to scale as well. And then obviously we mentioned the landing pages. So this is just an example of one of the PPC landing pages. As I've mentioned before, it's really, really important that your landing page experience reflects your ad experience as well. We want to make sure that anybody landing on the website, on the landing page, is going to act the way we want them to act for the ads, because of course we're spending a lot of money. It's not like any other platform. You have to put money behind Google Ads. So we want to make sure that they're continuing that journey in the way that we want them to continue that journey. So this ensured that we could funnel the people down the pipeline the way we wanted to, and make sure they were receiving highly relevant content as well. So on this page, you can see that we had dual CTAs. This meant that we could use it across top of funnel campaigns and more bottom of funnel campaigns as well. So you don't always need a different landing page for each journey of the funnel. The dual CTA allowed us to target those people that just needed a little bit more information, so those that were more at the top of the funnel, and then anybody that was ready, you know, to take that next step and request a callback, they were able to do so as well. So this allowed us to build credibility, especially to the more older audience that were a bit more cautious. It just gave them a longer it gave them a little bit of breathing room. If they needed to show any relatives, they could download the brochure. And we highlighted the key trust signals on the page as well. So those pages, as I mentioned before, they had like a nearly 3% conversion rate, which is really good for ads. And then on to the AI in Google Ads, which is my favorite part of the campaign. I did talk a lot about this earlier on, so I'll not talk as much about it here, but why we tested it. So we saw an opportunity. It was something I personally wanted to test. I wanted to get to grips with it. The client was a fan of AI. We'd done lots of great work in the SEO field. So we'd built that trust with the client and we got the green light, go ahead and test it. So this initially was a beta feature. And because we're a Google partner, we get access to beta features earlier than most other advertisers. Now it is available to everybody, so please do go and test it, because it is a great feature, and you will see opportunities for the wider campaign that you may not have necessarily thought about. So as we can see, there's a lovely screenshot there of the campaign. We got 610 new conversions. As I said, we were able to tap into a new audience that we'd not necessarily thought about and that had not come up on our keyword research. We prevented the year-on-year lead decline. So we were able to target a new audience and generated a new net volume. And this is now a blueprint for campaign expansion across other accounts. This is something that we've rolled out to other campaigns in other sectors, e-com, lead gen, B2B. This is a proven way to test without affecting too much of your campaigns. So again, just to reiterate, make sure your web pages, or we'd ideally like you to be using landing pages on PPC campaigns, are optimized. And with those two features together, you can really scale those campaigns. And of course, we worked with Meta Ads. So Meta Ads is kind of a different beast. So our goal from the start across PPC was to build up the top of the funnel, build that funnel out even further. So with Meta, it is a really good platform that allows you to capture leads before they begin actively searching. So we're supporting the funnel growth. We are highlighting the brochures on the ads, we're giving that personalized messaging, as you can see the ads on the side, and we are growing the mailing list out as well. So even though we were able to retarget on Meta, email was still a priority for across the campaign, and it was a really integral part of the campaign as well. So as I've said, we wanted to use Meta to actively capture leads before they began searching. So people are on Meta in their downtime, they're not necessarily searching for a product, so it's a great time to get in front of people before they realize they even need something, and getting them to take action. So these 4 pillars allowed us to grow the mailing list. It allowed us to again nurture and convert those top of the funnel sales. With this particular audience, we found more success at the top of the funnel and nurturing them through the different channels. It can be a bit daunting. It is a big expense to redo a bathroom. So we had more success targeting the top of the funnel. But again, the bottom of the funnel is just as important. So as you could see, the 2 top performing ads and HubSpot Insights helped us to back up the messaging and the Meta campaign. So what we saw is people were often clicking through on the ad and engaging before making a direct inquiry. They're downloading the brochure, and then what we saw in HubSpot, that people were emailing on the back of that. And in one instance, we saw a message from somebody who downloaded a brochure, and they're like, I have just had a fall this weekend. I need somebody to come out and look at giving me a quote for a new bathroom. So that information that's in the CRM is still very important on Meta, and it made sure we knew we were targeting the right people, and making sure again that we're getting in front of people at the right moment. So the Meta campaign was a very successful campaign as well.
Amazing. And I guess the last channel that everyone is now waiting to see examples from is going to be email marketing, which we're just about to get into. There should be a poll just up on your screen now asking about when you last audited your PPC campaign. I'm seeing kind of variable answers for this, and some people saying a long time ago, perhaps beyond when they can remember. If you haven't, it's well worth doing. This campaign is a perfect example of a campaign where the client knew it wasn't really performing as well as it could. And if you have that niggling feeling about your PPC campaign, there is probably something there. There's probably some truth behind it. So it's always worth having an audit, getting a third-party person to take a look. We offer free website and marketing reviews to anyone who's a medium, large or enterprise business. So if you do need someone to take a look over your Google Ads account or your Meta structure, we're more than happy to have that another view for you. So moving into email marketing then, Rebecca, you mentioned already that this was really tightly integrated with Google Ads and Meta Ads. So the first thing we did right was actually just segment the signups.
Yeah. So rather than using a generic form on the signups, as you can see from this screenshot here, we have segmented it by which products the leads were interested in. So again, this allowed us to pull this detail into our CRM, which is HubSpot, and then that made sure that, I mean, this is a common theme throughout the campaign, that everything that the leads are receiving is personalized, it's aligned with what they are looking for, and this was just a really simple tweak, and it had a big effect on the email campaigns. So the way that we segmented the strategy as well is we did it by product interest. So as you saw on the previous slide, we'd got bathrooms, showers, level access showers, and those kind of things, making sure they were delivered newsletters and emails on the products that they were interested in. And then we segmented by lead source as well. So as I previously mentioned, those people that had signed up from PPC, we made sure that they were getting a different type of content which was relevant to what they were searching and for where they were in the funnel as well at that decision making phase. Again, allowing us to send correct message at the correct time And this dramatically improved engagement. So leads from email rose by 193%. So it is very important, again, to treat leads individually, and again, personalization in your content, whether it's email, ads, SEO, it needs to be spot on. So then moving on to sequences and newsletters. So Flora built over 10 automated email journeys, again, personalized by product interest. So these weren't generic follow-ups, they were tailored, they were highly relevant and timed appropriately based on the user behavior. So how they've been interacting across the site, how they've been interacting with the content. Then we decided to send them different sequences based on what they'd been doing. And we saw an increase of we saw an impressive 28.5% average click-through rate, which if you work in email, you know that's massive. So alongside the automations, we ran weekly newsletters to keep people informed. Now, we did have a bit of resistance on the newsletters because originally we thought that if you need a bathroom, you need a bathroom. You need it there and then. It's a disability, it's an accessibility thing. People aren't going to wait around. However, we saw that this was not the case. We decided to test it, and we saw that newsletters did consistently deliver value and helped nudge those people that were in that consideration phase. It just gave them a little bit more information. It showcased the trust signals, the USPs that was talked about, and moved them closer to conversion. So
that's like a huge part, right, of building confidence, though. When you're making a high ticket purchase like a new bathroom, it's something you kind of put off a little bit because you want to be so confident and sure that whoever is coming into your home to make that change is the right company, and you don't want to spend that kind of money and then not have the result that you want. So it kind of makes a lot of sense. And I think our emails are really nice and simple, well written, accessible emails to read that actually nurtured people along that funnel. This one on the screen as well achieved like huge percentages. If anyone works in emails, you'll know just how big they are. 20% open rate is really high, and click-through rates were massive across this email campaign as well. Really impressive stuff. Rebecca, the last bit is about how we re-engage the lost leads from PPC.
Yes, so due to smaller audience sizes on the customer lists and the fact that we couldn't actually upload those, we couldn't retarget. So people who had clicked or downloaded but not converted would have been lost without email. They would have just gone. That would have increased our costs. So it would have increased our CPA, it would have increased our ad spend. It would have meant that our campaigns weren't as efficient. So it's very important that, you know, when you're running PPC campaigns, you're looking holistically at what other channels can support and how PPC can support other channels as well. It's very important not to look at it in isolation. So to overcome this, I have touched on this a little bit earlier. We implemented this cross-channel recovery strategy. So we merged the ads with HubSpot, and this allowed us to give us a more unified view of our lead journey, and it let us go beyond the Google Ads platform and re-engage those leads. So we were able to build from the email side of things, we were able to collect the data in HubSpot and again, segment and build these customized journeys within our email campaigns as well. So we launched automated personalized email sequences, again, targeting those objections, sending very personalized. So is it a cost? Is it a trust signal? Is it a timing? Whatever the barrier was for why they weren't converting, these emails helped answer all those pain points and helped us reignite interest and drive conversions from what would have otherwise been lost leads.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Rebecca and Danielle, for going through this huge amount of information. There was a lot going on here, so I'm going to distill it down into a couple of actionable takeaways for you. The first one, clean up your website's foundation and structure first. That was the most important thing that we did at the beginning of the campaign to make sure users could get around. Building content clusters that answer real questions, like real problems that your customers have, and using those to support your service pages, both for ranking, but also to deliver really good conversions as well. CRO insights, probably the most useful thing when it comes to improving your conversion rates, refining your landing pages, both the PPC ones and your usual service pages that you're using in search as well, before you put lots of budget into scaling traffic. And then the fourth one, this is a bit of a wild card, I think. I have added in experimenting with AI features in Google Ads. There is a lot of nervousness around this, quite understandably, because AI features are quite new. They're often changing Google Ads as well. As Rebecca said, we were testing even in beta mode before it was even released for this client. And you do need to be prepped before you do this. But if you are pretty pro AI, then working with an agency like Exposure Ninja, who actually commonly test these things, finds out what's working, could really help you. So you could always put a little bit of budget into doing that from your ad campaigns as well. So if you love this, I've got another video that you're going to love. We also did a marketing strategy that generated over 11K leads in a slightly different sector. You can find this video on our YouTube channel. Different strategy, different sector, amazing results though. So if you're working in a lead generation business and you liked this and you want a bit more inspiration, definitely recommend watching this one. If you feel like maybe we could help with your own marketing, you can request a free marketing review from exposureninja.com/review. This is a request. It isn't just a review that you definitely get. So if you're a medium, large, or enterprise business and you're needing a hand, or you want a bit of an audit of what's going on currently, either with your ads, with your marketing strategy more broadly, or even with AI search, then we can help out with that. You can head over there and submit your details for a review. And then I'm just going to leave you with this lovely quote from
Okay. Oh. Don't know what happened to Charlie. Unfortunately, she's left us. How are you all doing? You okay? Hopefully you can hear me. Superb. Okay, and Danielle's left us as well. What's happened? Oh no, everyone's just disappearing left, right, and center. Okay, no problem. Well, it was a superb presentation, Rebecca. I really enjoyed it, and I imagine that a lot of people did as well. I'm gonna just run through some of the questions. We'll do our best to answer the ones that we can. I will hopefully see Charlie and Danielle come back. Rebecca, do you have a hard stop at this point?
No, we're fine.
Okay, so we can go a little bit long. Okay, that's great. So there are a couple of polls just up at the moment, so I'll just put that up there now. So if you would like to speak to any of your team, you can just tell us via the poll as well. So if you'd like a free consultation call, we'll be able to talk about your entire marketing strategy, your website, look at any particular part as well, the SEO, the content, the PPC. We'd be more than happy to have a look at that. So you could just tell us through the poll in there, and we'll get in touch with you either tomorrow or maybe the end of the week, beginning of next week, depending on what your answer is. So we'll get into the questions. I'll leave that poll running. Also, I'll throw up a poll in a second about it'd be great to know how you've rated today's session. But let's get into the questions. So, wow, cool. Everyone's dipping in and out. Right, the first question was, I'll bring it onto the screen, much easier. So, interestingly, you found high amounts of tablet users demographic. Did that present a challenge when optimizing for mobile?
No, actually, not that I'm aware of. I spoke to the dev team at the time, and we looked at analytics and found there were a lot of tablet users and mobile users. So we spoke to dev, and they looked at the optimization, and as far as I know, there wasn't any challenges.
No, one of the things that we do when we do CRO audits is try and understand what the majority of users use. So if they're on mobile, if they're on tablet, or if they're on desktop most often. And then because we can, when we're actually making changes to a website, we always resize the screen to see how it looks across those different areas. And we'll always prioritize the one that gets used the most to make sure that everything looks absolutely slick, and then make sure it's responsive on all of the other browsers as well. So it doesn't really pose a challenge. It's just something to bear in mind when you are making changes and designing your website. I've seen it so many times. People design on desktop because we work on desktops, and then on mobile it looks terrible. Whereas sometimes you need to go mobile first. So exactly in this example, mobile first, tablet first, way more important than desktop first.
I imagine you were about to say that mobile first is really important for rankings as well, because often Google's own index is based on how well does this website perform on mobile, even if 95% of your traffic is via the desktop. They just do it via mobile first because that's how the majority of the people surf the web. Super. So it's the next question, which is around the budget of this campaign. So Danielle, perhaps you've got the best answer for this one. So was budget consistent month to month for the year covered? And actually, this was over pretty much, I was looking back, there's like 26-month campaigns. That's quite a lot. But the period we're talking about is the last 12 to 18 months, correct?
Yeah, so I think, Rebecca, the budget on the whole campaign didn't change, as in the retainer, but the budget did change on PPC. So I'll let Rebecca cover that because she was the person in control of the budget.
Yeah, so as I mentioned previously, we started with a 4K budget. Once we saw some consistency from the campaigns, once the campaigns were optimized and we could see a consistent return on investment and a consistent achievable CPA, that is when we started to scale the campaign. So we started to scale very slowly, and we would increase the budget by 5K each time. Now, there's no set time frame to that. It's just as soon as you optimize and you see a consistency across the campaign, then you can look at adding more budget. And you can do that in a number of ways. You can do it by adding budget to your existing campaigns, or you can do it by building out and adding new audiences, new styles, new targeting different parts of the funnel, which we did all of those things. And we actually, we scaled up to 55K GBP month on month, so from 4K to 55K. But again, you can't just put that money anywhere. You need to make sure you're optimized, you're seeing consistent return on ad spend, and then test slowly, because sometimes you can increase your budget and Google just goes, whoa, let's spend it all, and you see your CPAs increase and you're not getting any more leads for it. So you do need to be very strategic when increasing and scaling.
Superb. We've got another question this time from Rebecca. It's just going back to some of the slides about representing the growth of the campaign. I wanted to know which tools you're using for this.
So we use a multitude of tools. We use the information that we have access to in Google Ads. We use GA4, which is no surprise. We have Looker Studio as well, so we sync that to the reports to GA4. So our clients get live data, they can refresh it, change the time frame, so they always know what's happening on the campaigns, like very transparent. We use other platforms to analyze competitors, so we use SEMrush. We use other Google features, Google Ad transparency tools, the Meta Ads library as well. And then the main one, well, not the main one, but where we found the most value was the HubSpot report. So really digging into those HubSpot reports, aligning those with GA4s, looking at the attribution models, first click, last click, how many touch points per journey. And although it's not a tool, it is very, very important that you're speaking to your client and understand what's happening on a business side, because it's all right looking at all your reporting platforms and it's all like, yes, look at all these leads. But really, you need to be speaking to your client, or if you're in-house, if your brand, speak to your sales team, make sure you understand that journey and understand what the quality of the leads are like coming through. And to use all these reporting tools, well, not all of them, but the Google and the Meta ones, you need to make sure you've got your tracking set up, make sure you've got your cookies on, make sure that GA4 is linked to Google Ads. Make sure HubSpot or whichever CRM, if you don't have a direct integration, there are automation tools that you can sync in. If none of that works, if you can, maybe not in this sector, but in other sectors, upload your offline conversions. Again, just reading the data from all platforms. Yes, we do also use SE ranking as well, just to make sure we've got visibility across different platforms as well.
Now, who wants to tackle a question about local SEO? So this is a hefty one. I don't know if it's all going to fit on the screen. So this is about the cannibalization cleanup. So the person asking a question here, Michelle, is asking about, they have a service business that serves one state in the USA, and they were told that they need to have a service page for the state and also a service page for the city, in which they have a virtual office address for SEO purposes. So again, for local SEO. The question is, would you say that it was good advice to have two separate pages, one for state, one for city, or do you think it'd be better just to have one service page overall?
I think it depends on the business and how it's selling, to be honest. You could end up with 100 pages here, right? Some states are massive. So there could be a lot of cities that you're creating pages for, and it's not necessarily the most practical. When it might work is if you have particular target cities which have, larger populations that that's a really big city for us, and people are actually specifically looking for a business in that city to work with, then you might want to have it. The thing I would be really careful about, though, is making sure that content isn't just duplicate. If you've got literally the same thing written on a state page, a city page, a different city page, and you've literally just changed out the names, and you're using that for your SEO, as in those are listed pages that could be showing up in the search results, I think that would get very confusing. So I would just say, if you are doing it, make sure that the pages feel clean, different, relevant, that they make sense to the users who are coming to the site, that you would have them if you're going to have them.
The only other bit I'd probably say is with the local SEO aspect, virtual offices can be a bit of a tricky thing to use when it comes to ranking locally for X service near me. Google doesn't always love a virtual office, especially if that building is shared with 250 other businesses, which then can really limit your potential to rank locally for those kind of terms. So just something to bear in mind. It's not impossible to do. We've done it many times for our clients, but where possible, get like a physical address where somebody can be, even if that's just a one-room office somewhere that's just got one person in for an hour a day. It's better than being in an office with loads of other people. Great. So the next question from Rebecca says, for the Google strategy, did you use ad groups to bundle keywords and have specific keywords you were targeting on the landing page, or did the one with the main campaign with keywords and all the keywords dispersing amongst the one landing page? Do you know what? I blow my mind. I don't have a clue. Rebecca, this seems like the perfect question for you.
Yeah, so it was very important that we kept specific keywords together. So we did have different campaigns, and then within each campaigns we had different ad groups. We tried not to over complicate things with the ad groups. So sometimes when we do reviews, we'll get accounts and they've got like 20 ad groups, and there's only 4 ad groups that are getting impressions and clicks. So you want to make sure it's really streamlined as well, that there's enough budget for each ad group. So we grouped all similar themes together. And this is kind of like a standard practice as well, like across any search campaigns. So you just need to make sure your keywords are relevant to what is on your landing page. So for us, we did it by product. So we'd have people searching for wet rooms, and then the landing page that they would fall on would be wet rooms. And then we saw that we achieved an excellent ad strength score, which allowed us to have a lower budget but feature higher in the ad auction. So we would often get position 1 against the client's competitors because we'd get that better ad strength score by segmenting our campaigns this way. So yeah, I would always say you don't want to, there is a danger of going too far segmented. So like, just make sure you've got enough search volume for how you're segmenting as well. And another thing that we tested on this campaign as well was broad match keywords with smart bidding strategies. Make sure you have a really extensive negative list when you're testing that strategy. Otherwise, you can waste a lot of money before your campaigns have had time to optimize. But that allowed us to not over segment as well. So it allowed us to receive inquiries from people that were just maybe, if it had been on phrase or exact match, just a little bit out of those search terms, but we're still looking for the same products, same services, sorry.
There is nothing I love more than listening to Rebecca go off on PPC. Truly, I could be here for another hour at least. Hopefully that answers the question. It was pretty in-depth. We'll move on to the next question. So we've got, so does running a lot of search ads provide data to PMAX campaigns for analysis and so on? Does that provide better results?
Yes and no. So it depends what your strategy is. If you have a really small budget and a really tight audience, so say you're targeting a 30-mile radius of your location, then run a search campaign, make it really tight, make sure everything's really aligned. You will get better results that way. However, with our client, it was a national campaign. They had a good budget, so we were able to run both campaigns. I don't know if you've watched any of the Google marketing literature, any of those videos, but PMAX and search campaigns used together work really well, and Google describes them as the power pair. And that is something that we've seen across our Google campaigns as well. When we've added PMAX to the mix, we've seen an uplift in our search campaigns, even though we've not adjusted the budget or optimized any differently. PMAX as well now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we do have access. We do in Exposure Ninja because we've been able to get the beta reporting feature for PMAX. So we're actually able to see search terms for PMAX campaigns and what platforms within PMAX the leads or purchases are coming from on campaigns. So we can actually optimize our PMAX campaigns a lot better now. So we can add keyword search terms to the negative list. We can tweak our search ads, we can tweak our shopping ads based on that data as well. And that is rolling out from Google this quarter as well. So you will have a lot more control over your PMAX campaigns going forward. So that'll be exciting for you all to test.
Excellent. I'm just going to very quickly, there's a poll running at the moment, which you won't be able to see because I currently got the question on the screen, but okay, never mind. It'd be great to know how you felt about today's session. Thanks so much for sticking around for these extra few minutes. Yeah, the poll is up and running. It'd be great to know how you rate today's session. Please be honest. And then, yeah, back to the questions. We've got just a couple more to go. We've got one from Chloe. He's asking, slightly off topic, but did our team do any organic social media marketing for this business? And if so, how did that go? Danielle?
No, I answered in the chat. So no, we didn't for this particular business, although they have just started doing a fab job of this themselves. So feel free to go and check out what they're up to.
Excellent. Then we're on to Chloe with the last question of the day, which is, did Meta Ads get approached differently? So only nurturing with email marketing, or did the team reach out via call too? So just wondering if Chloe should be marketing differently based on the lead source, which is a great question.
So for the Meta campaigns specifically, we actually use Meta lead forms. So we wanted to avoid any friction and any drop off from ads to landing page, which wasn't an issue for the campaigns. It was just something we wanted to test. And with Meta ads, they populate the information, so it's much easier to get that information from the clients. So the messaging on the actual ads themselves was a lead gen focus, so download a brochure, fill your details in. However, the client's sales team on the other end, once they'd been nurtured by email a little bit further and were further on in their journey, and they were looking looking for solutions for bathing, then their sales team would reach out and call. On the Google ads, we did have the ads were optimized for leads and phone calls as well. So yeah, a bit of both.
Excellent. That's it for questions for this for this live session. Thank you ever so much, everyone who's stuck around to the end. I know we're 20 minutes over. I promise we won't try to go quite so long next time, but hopefully you've got plenty of insights you'll be able to go away and implement into your marketing campaign. Just as a reminder, you are welcome to request a marketing review. Just send over your business details. We'll do our very best to highlight how we can help you to improve any part of your marketing strategy, from figuring out who you're positioning for, how to position yourself, even help you with your brand, through to the actual marketing strategy and delivery as well. So head over to exposureninja.com/review to kickstart that process. Thanks ever so much to the three of you for presenting a fantastic live session. I'm particularly proud of this campaign just because of the kind of people that it's for and their families and so on, but also incredibly proud of all the ninjas, all the specialists and smart people on the campaign that made it possible. So any final thoughts to share before I hit this end live button?
No, exactly the same as you. Thanks everyone for joining today as well.
Thanks,
absolutely. Well, thanks everyone. We'll see you all soon.